globally of groups fighting for global justice, and that's very positive. So that's the economy. Inequality and poverty. Obama made a big deal out of poverty being a key problem that needs to be fixed. There's a coalition of more centrist groups called Half in 10, cutting poverty in half in 10 years. The challenge I would throw, and that I think we at IPS throw out to all of us doing that work, is can't we make inequality the center of this, not just poverty? In other words, can't the goal be bringing the top down as well as bringing the bottom up? Barack Obama opened the door to this. His tax plan raises taxes a bit on the richest 5% and lowers it on all the other 95%. But it is so small and so modest. When he opens up that conversation, can't we jump in with a big, massive redistribution of wealth from the very rich to the poor? And can we build a coalition to make that happen? Again, there will be huge fight back. Lots of forces allayed against that, corporate forces and so on. But that's the second one. Third one, war and peace. And here, there's a lot of people here who are thinking about this. But I think our goals, I don't know, I mean, let's talk about it, are to end the Iraq war more quickly, to be very vocal on Afghanistan and try to end that war. And 3, to cut military spending as part of a new national security frame and a country where there won't be that much money, so that we can offer money from the military. So those are each big tasks. I mean, the last one, let me just say one more word on cutting military spending as part of a new just security frame. We put out a report from IPS, and some of you contributed to it, called Just Security last year. It argues you could cut military spending by $250 billion by doing 3 things: ending the Iraq war, cutting 1/3 of our bases overseas, and getting rid of 12 obsolete weapons systems. Can't we do this now and offer $250 billion for the green stimulus or the health care plan? And in particular, I know the hardest part is cutting obsolete weapons systems because they're in districts of members of Congress. That's hard, but if we package it with a green stimulus, can't we do that? The one that should be easiest in terms of the politics is cutting the military bases. There's no domestic constituency for that. There are no factories that make military bases in Ecuador. And so next year Ecuador is going to kick us out. Can we be ready to say, oh my gosh, the world didn't fall apart. Wow, they kicked us out. We're still safe and secure here at home. Let's get rid of the next 1/3, and you can save a lot of money. And already the peace movement is using the economic argument in addition to its moral argument about ending the Iraq war and not shifting those troops to Afghanistan. Finally, on health care, I think there's the feeling in the Democratic Party circles that that's the first big fight that Obama has to win. And I think there's going to be heavy pressure on progressives to compromise a bunch and just let Obama get a win. So just to say that. And I think, Bill can say more about it. His members of Congress are feeling this. And I can understand from an inside the Beltway thing, okay, he needs a win. And it's going to be hard for him even to get a win in a context where everybody's saying there's no money. So I think our job in each of these 4 is to pull the debate further to the left than it would be, and that we can come up with what better than what Obama is going to be put forward, but only if we are more unified than we usually are, only if we build new coalitions that we usually don't, coalitions across race, across class, across the silos of labor, environment, women, blah, 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 that divide us. And I think there's a real willingness here, I know in my organization and all the organizations, and it's wonderful to see so many of you here from those organizations that I'm talking to, that we're going to have to work differently for that to work. A clever combination of inside strategy and outside strategy, working with our allies in the Congressional Progressive Caucus and people on the street. And through that, we can, 1, move some of these bigger debates further to the left, and then win some of the medium-sized debates that are huge, like the Employee Free Choice Act.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. I want to just note also that the Congressional Progressive Caucus is not a partisan body. It's open to all parties, as are any folks on the side of the progressive debate, that the conversation is not of a partisan nature, but of progressive tendencies. And I should have sort of done this housekeeping before we began, but we'll be about 10 minutes per panelist. And then we'll have some time for panelists to clarify and question each other for a few minutes, give closing statements, and then open it up for a nice long discussion on the floor. So our next panelist, I'm very pleased to call a colleague and friend, Steve Cobble. He grew up in New Mexico politics. He was elected a National Convention delegate for McGovern at age 20. And since then, he's worked on campaigns at every level, from state representative on up. In particular, Steve has worked on campaigns for African American candidates for president, U.S. Senate, and Congress. He's worked on campaigns for Latino candidates, including races for governor, Congress, and mayor. Steve served as the political director of the National Rainbow Coalition, and in 1991 had the honor of conducting GOTV trainings for the African National Congress organizers in South Africa. He was also a fellow at the Institute for Politics at Harvard's Kennedy School and a founder of Progressive Democrats for America. And Steve is an associate fellow here at the Institute for Policy Studies. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Karen. I want to start by just letting you know that I'm kind of in the mood to not focus on the disappointments to come. I kind of have the shoulder flick attitude about it today. I think we should take a moment and savor something you may not feel again the rest of your life. And I say that not just because it's a great day, but because historically that's true. The last time the Democrats had back-to-back years as good as 2006 and 2008 was the Great Depression and Franklin Roosevelt. So unless you're really, really old, you haven't been through this and may not be again. And of course, even then, that was white guys, so this is different in character as well. I want to thank the rest of the world for giving us another chance. We avoided the 3 strikes and you're out label yesterday, and we get to try again. Apparently, the voters did not need a weatherman to know which way the wind blew. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our arch foes, George W. Bush and Karl Rove. Some of you heard me say this the other night. It's such a good line, I have to steal it again. As Chris Rock said, they screwed things up so bad that even a white guy couldn't get elected president. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. But what I really want to talk about today is I want to be happy about the things that happened that our fathers and mothers and grandfathers and grandmothers made possible as progressives. Because the stuff that we're going to fight for in the years to come probably isn't going to do us that much good. Because there's going to be compromises and frustrations, blah, blah, blah. You all know the story. You're on the left, right? You're the left part of the new center-left America that the punditocracy is trying to erase today and call it center-right. We'll start with the Voting Rights Act. We just had an expanded electorate yesterday. It voted over 19-1 African Americans for Barack Obama. The Voting Rights Act was won on the bridge at Selma. And Dr. King said in his speech, the confrontation of good and evil compressed in the tiny community of Selma